Unbreakable bond, a mother and son's journey. It was a bright, sunny day in May when Jenna gave birth to her first child, a beautiful baby boy named Tyler. She had never experienced such joy and love before, and from that moment on, she knew that her life had changed forever. Jenna was a single mom, but that didn't stop her from being the best parent she could be. She worked hard to provide for Tyler, and every night, she would hold him close and tell him how much she loved him. As Tyler grew up, Jenna watched him with pride and amazement as he learned to crawl, walk, and talk. As Tyler grew older, he became more independent, and Jenna knew that it was time to let him spread his wings. She encouraged him to make friends, play sports, and explore his interests. Tyler loved soccer, and Jenna would often drive him to games and cheer him on from the sidelines. But as Tyler approached his teenage years, he began to rebel against his mother's rules. He stayed out late, skipped school, and started hanging out with a bad crowd. Jenna was worried about her son, but she refused to give up on him. Despite Tyler's rebellious behavior, Jenna refused to give up on him. She knew that he was going through a difficult time and needed her love and support more than ever. So, she sat down with him and had a heart-to-heart conversation. Jenna listened to Tyler's frustrations and concerns, and she shared her own experiences with him. She told him about the mistakes she had made in her own life and how she had learned from them. Tyler was surprised to hear his mother's vulnerable side, and he began to open up to her more. Together, Jenna and Tyler worked on building a stronger relationship. Jenna encouraged Tyler to share his thoughts and feelings with her, and she promised to be there for him no matter what. Jenna knew that Tyler needed guidance and support, so she decided to enroll him in a mentoring program. There, he met a kind and patient man named Steve, who became a positive role model for him. Steve helped Tyler see that there was more to life than partying and hanging out with the wrong crowd. Over time, Tyler began to change. He started taking school seriously, and he stopped hanging out with his old friends. He even apologized to his mother for his past behavior and thanked her for always being there for him. With the help of the mentoring program, Tyler began to turn his life around. He developed a new group of friends who were positive influences on him, and he started to see the importance of education. Jenna was proud of the progress that Tyler had made, but she knew that there were still challenges ahead. She continued to support him every step of the way and provided him with the resources he needed to succeed. As Tyler entered his senior year of high school, Jenna was filled with pride and sadness. She knew that her little boy was growing up and soon would be leaving the nest. But she also knew that he was ready for the next chapter in his life. As Tyler approached graduation, Jenna couldn't help but feel emotional. She had watched her son grow from a baby to a young man, and she was proud of everything he had accomplished. Tyler graduated from high school with honors and was accepted into a prestigious university. Jenna watched as her son walked across the stage to receive his diploma, and she knew that she had done her job as a mother. At Tyler's graduation ceremony, Jenna cheered loudly as he walked across the stage to receive his diploma. She knew that her hard work and dedication had paid off, and she felt grateful to have been a part of his journey. After graduation, Tyler continued to achieve great things. He landed a job at a prestigious company and quickly worked his way up the ranks. He even started his own family, and Jenna became a doting grandmother to his children. Jenna loved spending time with her grandchildren and watching Tyler grow into a successful young man. She felt grateful for the bond they had built and knew that it would only continue to grow stronger over time. Years passed, and Tyler grew into a successful young man. He had a thriving career and a beautiful family of his own. Jenna was there for every milestone, from his wedding to the birth of his children. One day, as Jenna sat with her grandchildren, she looked at Tyler and saw the little boy she had held in her arms so many years ago. She smiled and felt a sense of pride and accomplishment that only a mother can feel. Jenna never forgot the love and joy that Tyler had brought into her life. She knew that being a mother wasn't easy, but it was the most rewarding thing she had ever done. She hoped that one day, Tyler would understand just how much he meant to her, and how much she loved him.
Arrival in Millfield, A Tale of Aliens and Humanity. It was a sunny day in the small town of Millfield, Indiana. Everything was normal, people were going about their day, and children were playing outside. Suddenly, the sky turned dark, and everyone looked up to see a large spaceship hovering above the town. People started to panic, and they ran to their homes to take cover. The military was immediately alerted, and they arrived at the scene, guns at the ready. The spaceship landed, and the doors opened. A group of alien beings emerged. They were tall, with green skin, and large black eyes. They didn't seem to be armed, and they held up their hands in a peaceful gesture. The military was cautious, but they approached the aliens, and a dialogue was initiated. The aliens communicated through a device that translated their language into English. They said that they had come in peace, and they were interested in making contact with humans. They explained that they had been observing the Earth for a long time and had finally decided to make contact. At first, people were scared and suspicious, but as they began to communicate with the aliens, they realized that they were friendly and meant no harm. The aliens shared their technology with the people of Millfield, and they taught them about their way of life. The people were amazed by the advanced technology, and they were grateful for the knowledge that the aliens shared with them. Not everyone was happy about the aliens' arrival. Some people were afraid of the unknown, and they believed that the aliens were a threat to their way of life. A group of people formed a resistance movement, and they began to spread fear and distrust about the aliens. They said that the aliens were dangerous and had come to take over the Earth. The conflict between the resistance movement and the supporters of the aliens escalated, and it threatened to tear the town apart. The situation was getting out of control, and the aliens realized that they had to do something to prevent a war. They called a meeting with the leaders of the resistance movement and the town officials. They explained that they had no intention of taking over the Earth, and they were only interested in making contact and learning about humans. They also said that they would leave the Earth if their presence was causing too much trouble. The leaders of the resistance movement were hesitant at first, but they eventually agreed to a truce. They realized that the aliens were not a threat, and they were impressed by the advanced technology that they shared. After spending several months on Earth, the aliens prepared to leave. They said their goodbyes to the people of Millfield and promised to keep in touch. The people were sad to see them go, and they realized that they had learned a lot from the aliens. They had gained a new perspective on life, and they were grateful for the experience. As the spaceship took off, the people watched in awe, and they knew that they would never forget the incredible experience they had with the aliens.
The story of John and Jane. John had been in love with Jane for years, but he had never worked up the courage to tell her. They had been friends since childhood, and he didn't want to risk losing her if she didn't feel the same way. Over the years, John watched as Jane dated other men, always hoping that she would see how much he cared for her. but she never seemed to notice. They remained close friends, and John was always there for her when she needed him, even though it broke his heart to see her with someone else. One day, John finally decided to confess his feelings to Jane. He met her for lunch and took a deep breath. "Jane, I know we've been friends for a long time, but there's something I need to tell you," he said, his heart racing. Jane looked at him with concern. "What is it, John?" "I love you, Jane." "I have for a long time," he said, his voice shaking. Jane's face fell. "John, I care about you deeply, but I don't feel the same way. I'm sorry." John was crushed. He couldn't believe that the woman he had loved for so long didn't feel the same way. They finished their lunch in silence, and John left feeling empty and heartbroken. Over time, John tried to move on and date other women, but he couldn't shake his feelings for Jane. He continued to see her as a friend, but the love he felt for her never went away. In the end, John had to accept that his love for Jane was unrequited, and that he had to find happiness in other areas of his life. He remained a loyal friend to Jane, even though it was sometimes painful to be around her. And he learned that sometimes, love is just not meant to be. As time passed, John found himself struggling to move on from his unrequited love for Jane. He tried to date other women, but his heart wasn't in it. He found himself comparing every woman he met to Jane, and they always fell short. Jane, on the other hand, was going through her own struggles. She had always seen John as a friend, but now that he had confessed his love for her, she found herself thinking about him differently. She started to see all the qualities in John that she had never noticed before: his loyalty, his kindness, and his unwavering support. As Jane began to reconsider her feelings for John, she found herself thinking about what it would be like to be with him. She knew that he would always be there for her, no matter what, and she began to see him in a new light. One day, Jane decided to take a chance and tell John how she felt. She met him for coffee and took a deep breath. "John, I know I didn't feel the same way when you told me you loved me, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I think maybe I was too blind to see what was right in front of me," she said, her heart racing. John looked at her with surprise. "What are you saying, Jane?" "I'm saying that I want to give us a chance. I want to be with you, John," she said, her voice shaking. John's face lit up with joy. He couldn't believe that the woman he had loved for so long was finally returning his feelings. From that day on, John and Jane were inseparable. They fell in love, and their friendship blossomed into a deep and meaningful relationship. They knew that they had a lot to learn about each other, but they were committed to making it work. As they sat together, holding hands and looking into each other's eyes, John knew that he had never been happier. He had finally found the love he had been searching for, and he knew that he would never let it go.
Life and Dream. The young man's name was Alex, and he had always dreamed of becoming a successful singer. However, his dreams were constantly hindered by his difficult upbringing. Alex grew up in a poor family, with his parents constantly fighting and eventually divorcing when he was only 10 years old. He had to live with his alcoholic father, who often neglected him and made life difficult for him. Despite these challenges, Alex was determined to succeed in life. He worked hard to save enough money to go to college, where he discovered his talent for singing. However, his dream of pursuing a music career was almost shattered when he got into a fight with his father, who destroyed his guitar in a fit of rage. To make matters worse, one of Alex's closest friends became addicted to drugs, and Alex himself was tempted to try them. But he knew that drugs would ruin his life, so he stayed away from them.
Just when things seemed to be getting better for Alex, his father was involved in a terrible accident that left him crippled. Alex had to take care of his father, which was a difficult task, but he did it out of love for his dad. When his father passed away, he decided to change his ways and focus on his music career. It was during this time that Alex met Natalie, a music producer who believed in his talent and helped him get his foot in the door of the music industry. Alex began to perform at small gigs, slowly building up his fan base. But it was a chance encounter at one event that changed everything. The scheduled singer didn't show up. So Alex was asked to fill in. The audience loved him, and his performance went viral on social media. A record label soon contacted Alex, offering him a contract. He was overjoyed and signed on immediately. He began to write his own songs and perform at bigger and bigger venues, becoming more and more famous with each passing day. But success came at a price. Alex's mother, who had abandoned him and his father when he was young, suddenly came back into his life. She had seen him on TV and realized that he was famous and had a lot of money. She began to ask him for money, and soon she became a constant presence in his life, always asking for more. Alex was torn between his desire to help his mother and his need to protect his newfound success. But he knew that he couldn't keep giving her money without talking to her about his past and the pain that he had gone through. So he invited his mother to meet with him, and he opened up to her about his father's passing and how it had changed him. He told her that he wanted to move forward and build a relationship with her, but that he needed her to understand that he couldn't keep giving her money without any explanation or understanding. In the end, Alex's mother understood and agreed to work on their relationship. Alex realized that success wasn't just about money or fame, but about the love and support of his family. He continued to perform and write music, but he also made sure to stay close to the people who mattered most in his life. And that, for him, was the ultimate success.
Saving Charlie. John was a young boy who had a dog named Charlie. Charlie was not just any dog, he was his best friend. They had been inseparable since Charlie was a puppy. John would take Charlie for walks, play fetch with him, and snuggle with him on the couch. Charlie was always there for John when he needed him. One day, John noticed that Charlie was acting strange. He was not as energetic as usual, and he was not eating or drinking much. John decided to take Charlie to the vet to see what was wrong. The vet examined Charlie and told John that he had a rare disease that was difficult to treat. John was devastated. He could not imagine life without Charlie. John spent countless hours researching Charlie's disease. He read everything he could find on the internet and talked to experts in the field. He learned about experimental treatments that could potentially help Charlie. However, these treatments were very expensive, and John's family could not afford them. John was determined to do whatever it took to keep Charlie alive. He started doing odd jobs around the neighborhood to earn some money. He even sold some of his own possessions to raise enough money to pay for Charlie's treatment. Finally, he had enough money to start the experimental treatment. The treatment was grueling for Charlie. He had to go through many painful procedures. And there were times when he did not want to eat or drink anything. John stayed by Charlie's side throughout the entire process. He would read to him, play music for him, and hold his paw when he was scared. Despite the pain and discomfort, Charlie slowly started to get better. His appetite returned, and he started to become more active. John was overjoyed. He knew that all of his hard work had paid off. Charlie was going to live. Years went by, and Charlie grew old. He was no longer the energetic puppy he used to be. But he was still John's best friend. John and Charlie had been through so much together. And their bond was unbreakable. One day, Charlie passed away peacefully in his sleep. John was heartbroken. He had lost his best friend. But he knew that Charlie had lived a long and happy life. John would always cherish the memories he had with Charlie and would never forget the love they shared. In memory of Charlie, John started a foundation to help other families who were struggling with the same disease that Charlie had. He knew that Charlie would be proud of him for helping others. John realized that Charlie's legacy would live on forever.
Dream trip to Hawaii. Jane had always dreamed of going to Hawaii, and finally, her dream came true. She was going with her best friends, Sarah and Lily. They were all so excited to explore the beautiful islands and have the adventure of a lifetime. The first thing they did when they arrived was to check into their hotel. It was right on the beach, and they could hear the sound of the waves from their room. They quickly changed into their swimsuits and headed to the beach. As soon as they stepped onto the sand, they felt the warm sun on their skin. They could smell the salt water and the fresh air. They ran into the water and splashed each other, laughing and having fun. They spent the rest of the day on the beach, building sandcastles, taking walks, and swimming in the ocean. They were having so much fun that they didn't even realize how much time had passed. The next day, they decided to try something new. They rented a kayak and paddled out to a nearby island. They saw colorful fish swimming in the clear water and beautiful birds flying above. When they reached the island, they explored it and found a hidden cove with a waterfall. They swam in the cool water and took lots of pictures. On their third day, they took a helicopter tour of the island. They saw breathtaking views of the mountains, forests, and beaches. They even saw a volcano erupting from above. It was an experience they would never forget. One night, they went to a traditional Hawaiian luau. They ate delicious food, watched hula dancers, and learned about Hawaiian culture. They even got to try some hula dancing themselves. On their last day, they went on a hike through a rainforest. They saw exotic plants, birds, and animals. They reached a waterfall at the end of the trail and took a refreshing swim. As they sat on the beach on their final evening, they reflected on their amazing trip. They had experienced so much in such a short time, and they knew they would cherish these memories forever. They talked about coming back to Hawaii someday and all the adventures they would have again. For now, they were grateful for the experience and the bond they had formed during their time in paradise. As their trip came to an end, Jane, Sarah, and Lily made the most of their last day in Hawaii. They went to a local market to buy souvenirs for their families and friends back home. They bought colorful shirts, hats, and keychains with Hawaiian designs. They also picked up some macadamia nuts and other local snacks. After shopping, they decided to spend their last afternoon surfing. They had taken lessons earlier in the week, and they were determined to catch some waves on their own. Jane was a bit nervous, but she remembered the words of her instructor: just relax, have fun, and don't be afraid to wipe out. She repeated this to herself as she paddled out. They spent hours in the water. As the sun began to set, they headed back to the beach, tired but happy. That night, they had a farewell dinner at a fancy restaurant. They talked about their favorite moments of the trip and how much they would miss Hawaii. They promised to keep in touch and plan another adventure soon. The next morning, they packed their bags and said goodbye to the hotel staff. They drove to the airport, feeling sad but grateful for the amazing trip they had just experienced. As they boarded the plane, they knew they would never forget the warm sun, the clear water, and the friendly people of Hawaii. They also knew that they had made memories that would last a lifetime.